The following program contains scenes and language of a frank and explicit nature. Discretion is advised.
Episode 94, Rare Form Radio, coming in your face and your ears, and if I'm lucky, your mouth. Hi, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good whatever you are. So, something different this week. Darren's not here. Heidi's not here. It's just me here. So, let me explain. Back in December, I decided to start doing the Rare Form residency. And it's been really, really fun. I've enjoyed every second of it. So, for the month of May, I booked a really cool guest. A good friend of mine, someone who you probably know who he is. You've definitely heard his music before. And someone I have a long history with. And I was stoked to have him on for the whole month. So I booked him, and then I told him, a couple days ago, hey, we got to record because the show is, coming out next week. And he thought we were going to start recording this week. It wasn't totally clear. And then he didn't realize that it was a 4-show thing, and he has other things going on. So that whole thing imploded. It totally fell apart. But we're going to have him back at some point this month. So what we're going to do, this month, the month of May, we're going to abandon the Rare Form residency for this month at least. And we're going to do 4 guests, 4 different guests every week. Looking forward to it. Should be new. So today, I was supposed to have a really, really fascinating, not polarizing, but a type of person on the show that we've never had before. I don't even know if I want to give any kind of hints, but it was someone who, has been convicted of a horrible crime. This person has admitted to other atrocities, and I want to speak to this person and just get inside their head for a bit. So it's going to be I don't know what it's going to be actually, but we're going to hopefully do that for next week's show. So to save the day, I interviewed my mom today. So this will kind of be our Mother's Day show. I knew I wanted to do this, and I asked the Patreon supporters, as we call them, Dick Fucks, a name that Todd Newman gave. I don't know if I love it, but it is what it is. I asked the Patreon folks if they had any questions that they wanted to ask my beautiful mother, and you did. And some of you are disgusting and vile. And it hurt my heart to ask my mom some of these questions, but I did. I asked her almost every question, and boy, do you guys have sex on the brain. You really, really do. It's dark. It's dark. But my mom answered. I just got done with the interview. It was beautiful. I learned stuff. I learned some stuff that I didn't think I would. I didn't know that I was going to find answers to things that I didn't know before, but I did. So I guess I have to thank you guys for bringing me closer to my mom. If you listen close, you'll be able to hear times when I get choked up and she gets choked up. I'm on here and I'm an idiot all the time, but I can cry pretty easy. But see if you can spot where those moments are. I'm sure you will. There's also a couple laughing fits, and most of those come from probably being uncomfortable. Again, thanks to you guys. But really had a good time. Bravo to her for being so open and honest about her sex life. Boy, you guys did not pull any punches on that one. So enjoy this interview with my mom, and if you want to join our Patreon, it's patreon.com/rareformradio, and you will get special treatment. Those people, all the questions that were asked of my mom came from Patreon. Just the way it is. Nothing against people that don't support that way. If you listen to the show, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you enjoy it somehow. But you know, Patreon folks, you get a little bit of extra. So there you go. If you want to join that. What else we got? Is that it? That's it, guys. Enjoy this interview with my mom. I will see you afterwards. Don't judge me.
Enjoying the podcast? If you'd like to show support for Rareform, there are a couple of ways. Become a patron at patreon.com/rareformradio. Make a one-time donation or choose from a few subscription levels paid monthly for extra benefits. Those extra benefits include bonus episodes not available to the public, exclusive live streams, more interactions with the gang, along with other special perks that will change over time. Choose your level of donation and know that your contributions go to keeping the show running and growing, paying crews behind the scenes, and just supporting independent artists. That's patreon.com/rareformradio. You can also get Rareform merch by going to rareformradio.threadless.com. T-shirts, hoodies, mugs, all kinds of silly shit. We're constantly adding new things and limited time only goodies. That's rareformradio.threadless.com. You can also help build the show by subscribing, leaving a review, and most importantly, leaving us a rating on iTunes and Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Lastly, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram by searching @Rareform Radio. Thanks for supporting independent entertainment.
Welcome back, everybody. And for our special Mother's Day show, we are joined by my lovely mother. I call her Mother. I don't even know her real name. What's your real name?
Cindy.
Cindy, that's right. Thanks for coming, Mom.
Oh, thank you for asking me.
Of course. So yeah, happy Mother's Day. Happy early Mother's Day.
Thank you.
I was supposed to have, you and I talked about doing this, a few days ago.
Yeah.
I was supposed to interview someone else today who I don't want you to mention yet, but someone I was very excited about. But that person had to cancel. So you came in last minute to save the day. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Uh-huh.
Well, you're the one that made me a mother.
It's true. We'll talk about that. I mean, I know that you told me before that you wanted to be a mother for a long time, and it was
all my life.
It was hard to have me. What was that like? What was the story there?
Well, your father and I were together 6 years, and I was trying to get pregnant and I didn't. So we went and had fertility tests, and both of us checked out fine. But the doctor said you might be one of those people that just never gets pregnant. And I was so bummed out. And 4 months later, you were on your way.
That quick? Only 4 months later?
Yeah. I guess I stopped worrying,
Could it be that easy? Did they think that maybe like the stress and the pressure of trying is what kept you from getting pregnant?
Yep.
Interesting.
That's what they said.
Okay.
So you're my miracle baby.
So I did the math years ago because I'm a December baby.
Yeah.
And obviously we are like I was raised like, an Irish Catholic family. Was I conceived on St. Patrick's Day?
Oh, you might have been.
Because the math is spot on.
Yeah.
I mean,
you might have been.
I was born December 5th and St. Patrick's Day is March 17th. And that's almost 9 months the day. So I was wondering if there was anything to it.
Well, you were supposed to be born 5 days early and you were 5 days late.
Was that supposed to be November 30th?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah. I went into premature labor with you at 7 months.
Okay.
And my friend Karen had to call the Coast Guard because your father was on Martha's Vineyard in his boat. And the Coast Guard got hold of him and told him your wife's in labor. And he was home in about 2 hours.
That's making good time.
Yeah, but that was a false alarm.
Okay.
So they put me on drugs to prevent labor, and you were born like 8 weeks later or something.
Okay. Wow.
But your father flew.
Was he looking forward to being a dad again? Because so people may not know, but my dad had a son before me who is 9 years older than me. 10 years.
11
years. Okay.
He was born in 68.
I feel like Dad wasn't really that happy about having another kid, right?
Well, we made a deal. he could get a boat if I got a baby.
Oh God, that's pretty funny.
He's not a baby person.
Right.
But once
right.
you were old enough to talk and run around, he
Yeah.
just loved you.
Can
I mean,
you
he always loved you, but
can you tell the story, like tell it the good way, about the time that Dad was wetting the bed all the time?
oh my God. You were just a few months old, and we had a waterbed, and I always had cloth diapers from all three of my kids. And I asked your father to change you. And he said, does he have poop? And I said, no. So he said, okay. So he's changing you on the bed, and he took the diaper pins out and stuck them in the bed. Okay. Because I used to stick them in the couch cushion.
Mm-hmm.
And so he stuck the pins in the bed. And then for the next 3 or 4 days, he'd wake up and he'd go, oh my God, I wet the bed. And,
and to make it clear, Dad he's like a truck driver, like a manly man kind of truck driver guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he thought that he was under stress or something, and he goes, I don't know what's wrong. And I said, well, maybe the bed's leaking after a couple of days. He was even crying one morning. He says, oh, what the hell's the matter with me? So we took all the sheets off and started crawling around on the bed. And there were 2 pinholes.
I remember you saying once that you were watching him changing me once, and you saw him stick the pin in the waterbed, and you're like, Paul, that's what you're doing.
Oh, maybe that's how we found out, but we had to crawl around and find the hole and patch it. But he was very relieved.
Oh, I'm sure. Of course. I mean, I've heard other stories of people that start wetting the bed as adults, and it's they never know why. It's like, usually due to some kind of trauma or something like that. But
yeah,
I imagine he wasn't too pleased.
Well, he had the trucking business and everything. So, and a new baby and Paul going back and forth. And so he thought it was stress.
Really funny. So obviously I was raised in Massachusetts, and but you were born in Kansas, right?
Wichita.
And how long did you live there for before you moved?
A little more than a year.
Oh, so you have no memory of it?
No. Monica was born in Seattle 11 months before me.
That's your sister?
Yes.
Yep.
And then we moved to Wichita, and then we moved back to Massachusetts, where Grandma and Grandpa both grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And Grandpa worked for Raytheon for years and years and years.
He was a literal rocket scientist, basically.
Yes,
right?
he was. He helped design and everything, the Patriot missile and the SAM-D missiles.
Mm-hmm.
He was in thermodynamics.
Okay.
And he rose up in the company, not to the top, but pretty far up.
Wow. I don't know why I didn't get any of his intelligence, because he's one of the smartest people I ever knew.
You do have his intelligence.
No, I have a sense of humor. That's all I got.
Oh, I think you got some of that from him. A lot of it from Grandma.
What, the sense of humor?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Grandma's side of the family was hysterically funny.
Mm-hmm.
Grandpa's was very stiff German, Swedish,
Mm-hmm.
Not much was funny, except Uncle Paul was funny.
Yeah. Everyone that's listened to this show and Dark Matter I did with Dave for 10 years, 11 years before this, I've been asked many, many times, like, where I got my sense of humor from and my quick wit. And I always say that it came from you. Like, you're hilarious. And it is something about your side of the family. Like your sister, both brothers, like my aunts and uncles, my grandparents, all my cousins, everyone is really, really funny.
Yeah.
Did you get that more from your mom or your dad?
I think my mother.
Okay.
And her crazy family. Okay. I mean, they were crazy.
How so? How were they crazy?
Oh my God. I don't know. Do you remember the family reunions we had?
Of course.
When they were doing acts in the garage.
Oh yeah, they put on like theater shows and like stand-up comedy bits, I think, and
and dancing and
Well, Grandpa, your dad, of course, was big into that kind of stuff and big into movies and films and entertainment.
Oh yeah, he filmed all of our family reunions.
Where are all those tapes?
I don't know.
Okay.
When we had a flood in the basement in Main Street, a lot of stuff got ruined.
Oh
But
yeah.
maybe one of my brothers or my sister has some of them.
So another thing about Grandpa that I think one of my big loves of movies, like I still love movies to this day so much. I think a lot of that came from Grandpa because
You think?
oh, so for people listening, like if you walk through my grandparents' house and open any dresser drawer anywhere, there was video cassettes perfectly categorized by number with like written
How
on
many
them.
minutes? How many minutes each movie was?
If you wanted to watch the second movie on the tape, you jump to 129 minutes, and then he would make his own film books
Folder.
but there was a bunch of them. So if I go over there and I'd be like, Grandpa, I want to watch RoboCop, and he would go to his book and know that it's in the spare bedroom, second drawer down, second aisle, and I'd be watching RoboCop in about a half hour. It was crazy.
Yep. And up above the fireplace in the basement,
Yep.
that whole cabinet thing up above the fireplace was full of movies.
Was he always a big like list guy? Did he always want organization and
yeah. Well, he was a scientist or, whatever.
Was Grandma that way?
No. No.
Was she just kind of like whatever?
Yeah. If we asked for a movie, she'd go, ask your father or go look at his book. I don't know where it is,
That's great. So you obviously you loved your parents very much, and last year you lost your dad, which is like now you've lost both parents, and
I'm an orphan.
Technically, I guess you are. Is there one of the two of them that you seem to connect more than the other? I mean,
Grandpa.
With Grandpa.
With Grandpa.
Always, or just in later years?
Always, but when I was young, he worked a lot. But I was daddy's girl,
Uh-huh.
So
interesting.
And then when he got sick, dementia, I took care of him at least 3 days a week, and your cousin Emily did a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
And then my sister Monica moved him out to Missouri. And every couple of months I would fly out there and spend a month taking care of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then go back home and take care of your brother for a month
mm-hmm.
and go back. But I missed him terribly when I was back home.
Yeah. You guys definitely seem, once Grandma died, obviously you started spending a lot more time with Grandpa, but it definitely seemed like the bond was very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when Grandma was sick and in the hospital and stuff, I would spend the nights at Grandpa's so he wouldn't be alone.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of days before she died, he asked me if I'd sleep in the bed with him. And it was a king size bed. And I said, oh, God, I don't know if that's proper, but if you want me to, I will. Yeah. So I did.
Well, another thing that people like, obviously no one here knows anything about my grandparents, but my grandmother dying was it was the worst case scenario because she took care of my grandfather in every way, right? Like he cook.
Didn't know how to heat up a cup of coffee.
He couldn't make coffee. He couldn't do laundry. He couldn't do chores. Like he just didn't. They were very old school that way, right?
Yes.
Did he ever cook anything?
No, never.
Did he barbecue?
No.
Okay, because I'm trying to think of like family functions. It was always one of the uncles was manning the grill. Grandpa was never doing it.
Right.
He was just watching baseball on the porch. And
yeah. And one time he decided to run the dishwasher, but he used liquid dish soap instead of the dishwasher soap. And your sister was there, and she came down to the kitchen, and she goes, oh my God, she called me. She goes, Mom, there's bubbles all over the kitchen.
At least he tried.
I know.
That's really funny.
And I had to write out directions on the washer and dryer for him.
Did he ever figure it out?
No. He was absolutely brilliant, but he had no common sense. You know what I mean?
Okay. So he was book smart.
Yes.
Did he
Yeah.
have a sense of direction?
Yes.
Okay.
And he also built the master bedroom there in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And he was pretty creative, I thought, with the bar and the
Oh yeah.
workroom and the laundry room.
That bar downstairs is where I sustained one of my worst injuries of my life.
I was going to mention that.
So do you remember what year it was?
Oh my God.
I feel like I was 9 or 10.
Probably 9. I think he wised up by 10. But
so go ahead.
He decides to stand on one of the bar stools.
So
okay?
my grandfather built a bar, like a really nice, like a full on, it was like you're at Cheers or something, like a nice bar in the basement. And he had these high back or mid back tall bar stools that swiveled, they spun around, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And Dan decides to stand on one of them. And I don't know what kind of trick you were trying to do.
I'll tell you what I was trying to do.
But you face planted.
What I was trying to do, I was trying to show someone the Macho Man Randy Savage elbow drop.
Oh yeah.
So I tried to do the tap, and I tried to jump off the bar stool. And as I jumped, the back swiveled around, and I tripped over the back, and I fell directly on my forehead on the ground.
And I heard people, your uncles screaming down there. And I ran down and I watched this gigantic egg come up on your forehead. And it was Christmas Eve.
Yep.
And I wrapped you in a blanket. And I think it was Uncle Jeff drove me to the hospital with you. And they decided after a few hours that you were okay. So we went back to Grandma and Grandpa's with you still wrapped in a blanket. And they waited for you before we opened any presents.
I think like, we were there like 2 or 3 hours, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And they waited. They wouldn't open anything till you got back.
By the way, for the listeners, my Uncle Jeff is my cousin Dave, my cousin Dave's dad. David's been on the show a few times, and he calls in a lot. So the listeners know who Dave is, the cop.
So I won't say anything bad about him.
No, not today. Not today.
No, I love him to death.
Of course. In that same house once, Uncle Jeff, I slept over that house with Dave Murphy and one other person, I think. And we
Aaron. Wasn't it Aaron?
Maybe. Okay. Something like that. So
I know Dave was there.
We slept over at my grandparents' house. No one was home. And we
were
permission.
On vacation.
They were on vacation. And I had your permission to stay there because we were going to stay there and watch movies. And we were probably 18 years old.
Yeah.
And I woke up to someone saying, like, wake up, or who is that? And I woke up and I had a gun in my face, a gun pointing at my face.
Yeah.
And I hear, Danny, what the fuck are you doing here? What are you doing here? I almost killed your fucking friends in the other room. So my Uncle Jeff is a Massachusetts state trooper. He's retired now, but he was a state trooper at the time.
He was a sergeant when he retired.
He lives in that neighborhood and was just driving by to check on the house and saw one of my friend's cars in the driveway. So of course he didn't recognize the car.
But he called in the plates and he didn't know who Dave Murphy was.
Didn't know who it was. So he goes inside with his sidearm and he goes into one of the spare rooms and sees 2 guys sleeping in 2 different
twin beds.
Right. And then across the hall, he found me. I was turned on my side and he woke me up with a gun in my face. And then he quickly de-escalated the situation, but I could have been killed.
He said he almost killed you.
Oh yeah, I believe it. I mean, there's 3 strangers in his parents' house.
Yeah.
I don't blame the guy.
They were in somewhere like Aruba or something. No,
that was their spot. I feel like they loved Aruba.
Yeah, he called me and screaming, if you ever let one of your kids stay there, call me and let me know.
It's really funny. Do you remember? I just made a bunch of questions of stuff I've never asked you before, but I want to know.
Okay.
Do you remember the happiest day of your childhood? Is there like a moment that was like your favorite day as a kid?
The happiest?
Yeah.
Oh, well, when I was 11, I met the Beatles.
Okay, that's a story I want to hear because if people can see behind you, there is a Beatles pillow, there's a Beatles poster.
I
My
have
mother,
2 Beatles sweatshirts.
I know everyone says that they're the biggest Beatles fan, but my mom might actually be one of the biggest Beatles fans.
Well, I got
So
to shake all their hands
tell
and
that whole
talk to
story.
them
Tell it from the beginning because it's a great story.
right now.
Yeah, please.
Oh, okay. I was 11 and I had my appendix out, and they took the stitches out of my side that day of the concert. And my
You remember,
mother told me,
was that the first time playing Massachusetts ever?
yes,
Okay.
Boston Garden.
Okay.
And my mother told me I couldn't go because I just got out of the hospital. And I said, if you don't let me go, I'll kill myself. So her cousin Duke and his daughter Becky, my cousin.
Don't give all the last names. Don't give all the last names.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Duke decided to rent me a hotel room in the same hotel the Beatles were in. I think it was called the Madison in Boston. Okay. And we were 2 floors below them. And they made me lay down and rest before the concert. And then Grandma, Grandpa, and Duke all got around me to go through the crowd to get into the concert. And when we walked in, Duke was part owner of a radio station. So he had his press pass and everything. And he said to the guard, this is Mr. and Mrs. Grandma and Grandpa.
Uh-huh.
And the guy bowed and he says, go right in. And we got the best seats. And couldn't even hear the Beatles with all the screaming, you know. But we had really good seats and it was awesome.
Didn't you go to a press conference or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Duke was going to interview them, or, you know, all the press was there. So he got Monica, me, and Becky into the press conference, and we were sitting, the table was probably 3 feet wide, and we were sitting 2 feet in front of that on a luggage rack. So we were right up there. And then when it was just about over, we all got up and we shook everyone's hand. And Ringo had just had his tonsils out. And Duke said, she just had her appendix out. And he goes, I was in the hospital too, me throat, right? So
to you, said it to you.
I got all the way to Paul, and then John, I couldn't shake hands with him. So when they ran out, I stuck my arm out and punched him in the stomach.
Just so you could touch him. Just so you could say you touched all. Just so you could say you touched all 4 of them.
And he turned around and winked at me.
And how old were you?
11. But I still remember it like it was yesterday. And we were 2 floors down, and some girls saw Grandma, and they thought she was George's sister. What the hell was her name? Oh my God. I can't think of George's sister's name.
Okay.
But they started trying to pull Grandma's hair out for souvenirs and everything. They forced us into the elevator, and Grandma kept saying, I'm not her, I'm not her. But then Duke took Grandpa to their room, okay? And he got to talk to them. And then they come down, and all these girls are knocking on the door. So Duke tells Grandpa to brush his hair down. And he leaned around the corner, and Duke goes, George, back up, back up. And these girls are out in the hall screaming.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that Grandpa was passed off as George Harrison.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, so, my God, it was funny.
As an 11-year-old girl, I mean, the Beatlemania is something that I mean, I can't understand, but no one can understand unless you lived it.
Yeah.
What is the excitement level of an 11-year-old girl meeting the Beatles?
I'll never forget that day. Never. It was one of the best days of my life.
And back then, obviously no cell phones, so you can't like tell your friends that it happened. Like when you get home, do you remember who the first person you told is?
The next door neighbors. And my cousin Becky managed to sneak behind Ringo, and she got on television.
Oh, wow.
So then we were written up in the Chelmsford News that Rebecca and her cousins, Monica and Cindy, got to go to the press conference. And I still have that piece of paper from the Chelmsford Journal or whatever it was.
Amazing.
And then we had when we went back to school. Oh my God, everyone wanted to shake the hand of the girl that shook the hand of all the Beatles.
Did people not believe you?
No, because I had the newsprint.
Oh, of course. Okay. I'm surprised you didn't just laminate it and wear it around your neck for the next 10 years.
I should have. I think it's right here, actually.
You have it?
Can you see the newspaper?
I can.
Okay, and right here, it says her cousins, Monica and Cindy.
Go up a little higher. Yeah, to your left. Oh, you go. That's great.
Yeah, wow. Right about here.
Yep.
So we had this to show everybody.
That's pretty incredible, and I can kind of relate because, Nine Inch Nails is my favorite band of all time, and to be able to eventually meet Trent Reznor and do all that kind of stuff, I know
and play with him.
Of course.
Yeah,
I know what the feeling is like, so that must have been just incredible.
What was your happiest childhood memory?
I told the story a few days ago, or a few weeks ago. There was a day that I was hanging out with Colin and Arthur and Eric Flanagan and Chris Phillips.
Yeah.
And we found a go-kart in Chris's garage that he didn't know that he had. And,
you never told me that.
Oh my God. We found a go-kart in his garage and we pulled it out and we figured there's no way it's going to run. And we got it running and we drove it in that parking lot across the street from Chris's. We drove it all day long. And that was one of the best days I've ever had. Yes, but don't give away all the information.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Yes.
It was years ago.
I know. But yeah, that was probably the most fun day I ever had.
Yeah.
But I mean, there were so many, like all the Christmas Eves at Grandma and Grandpa's house. The 4th of Julys were great.
Yeah.
One of my fondest memories is the last time all of us went to the movies was to see. Do you remember what it was?
It was either the Blair Witch Project or, give me a hint.
1989. It was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh God, I love that. I remember that.
It was before Max was born, so it was you, me, Rach, and Mark. Mark's my stepdad. It was the 4 of us went. That was the last time that I went to a movie with the whole family.
Yeah. Didn't you and I go to the Blair Witch?
I don't think so.
No?
That was 1999. I think I lived here already.
Oh.
I think.
Okay.
Yep. But I love that one.
Yeah.
Speaking of Blair Witch Project, you're kind of the person that got me into horror movies.
I know.
You were kind of always a horror person. Alfred Hitchcock was kind of your thing.
When I was a kid, I would go down when we lived on Riverdale. Grandpa made a basement down there too. And I would go down there and watch Alfred Hitchcock Presents with the lights off. And my grandmother, Ganga, said to Grandma one day, "Where's Cindy?" And she said, "Down cellar with Alfred." But I would go every night down there in the dark to watch it.
What do you think drew you to watching that kind of stuff? What did you like about it?
I love Hitchcock's movies. They're not gory like movies today, like Saw and things like that. But they were really a lot of suspense,
Psychological thrillers.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I love Alfred Hitchcock.
So there's something whenever you and I text each other or even say goodbye on the phone or hello on the phone, I call you mother. I never call you mom ever. And I call you mother because of Psycho, because of Norman Bates. And you call me
and I
Norman.
call you Norman.
Yeah. And that's been going on since I feel like I was a teenager, right?
I know.
Probably. So
mother.
You almost never call me Dan or Danny. It's always either Sonny or Norman.
Yeah.
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 Do you have any other nicknames for Rachel or Max?
Oh, Max is Maxident because he has so many.
That's a good one. I never heard that one. That kid gets hurt more than anyone I know.
I know. And I said Maxident one time and he goes, "So I was an accident?" I said, "No, you were not."
He took it personal.
We tried for him.
God, he hurt his finger so bad a few years ago. Remember with the bike chain?
Yeah, he sat on the bike and put his finger between the
sprocket and the
chain and the sprocket and stepped on the pedal, and he nearly cut the end of his finger off.
Oh,
And he still has like a horn that grows out of that finger that he has to cut off every now and then. Have you seen it?
It's gnarly.
Yes.
It's like he has like God, he's the best, but he has a fingernail, and on the back of the fingernail by the quick, there's like a talon that's growing out of it, right? It's like a separate little talon. He calls it his claw or his hook or something.
Yeah.
And it all
His
came
claw.
from his mangled bike accident.
Yep. Anyway, I was the next town over
Yep.
at my great nephew's christening.
Uh-huh.
And I get a phone call from your brother. Mom, can you please come home now? And I said, what's the matter? Just come home. I walked into the apartment and there was blood everywhere. It looked like a massacre. And he was sitting on the floor with his hand wrapped in a towel that was soaked in blood. And I took one look at it and I said, oh my God, I think the end of his finger's gone. And took him to Emerson, and they stitched him together, but sent him to a hand specialist the next day. And he pulled out part of the nail, but then Max started growing that hook. It was awful.
Oh my God. Do you remember when Max was on Dark Matter?
Yes.
And that was the first time you found out that he was not a virgin anymore?
Yes.
How was that for you as a mother?
I was shocked because he's so shy, you know?
Yeah.
And I was actually proud of him, but I didn't tell him that.
Of course. Okay, I'm going to get into all that kind of stuff. We have tons of listener questions that people wanted to ask you.
Okay.
But I want to save kind of that stuff for that. When you were younger, I also never asked you this. What did you want to be when you were a little girl, like when you grew up?
A nurse. And I went to nursing school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do great in high school, but I took the exam to get into nursing school and just aced it. So I went to nursing school, and then I dropped out to marry your father. Stupidest thing I ever did.
So how come marrying dad? Oh, why'd you have to drop out to get married?
Because I wanted to be with your father instead of a few towns away.
So you couldn't just, how far into school were you?
Almost 1 year out of 3.
Okay. And what was it about dad? What was so great about dad that you were like?
I just was madly in love with him, you know?
Can you describe him to me when you first met him?
It's kind of embarrassing. We were sitting at the train station, and a couple other kids were in the car, and I was sitting in front with your father, and we were all just joking around and everything. And this girl, Diane, in the back seat, just leaned through the bucket seats and kissed him. Okay. So I was pissed off.
Were you guys dating at the time, or you just liked him?
I just liked him. Okay. But then I said, Diane, that wasn't fair. And your father says, well, you can do it too. So we did. And that was it. We were together after that.
Wow.
So I guess I'm a better kisser than Diane.
There you go. Must run in the family, because I've been told I'm a good kisser. So that's how I keep all the ladies happy, I guess.
All the ladies, you should only be keeping one happy.
No, I mean throughout my life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not my stable I have now, just the one. Didn't you tell me you got into a fight once? Did you fight as a kid?
Oh my God. After my grandmother died, I got a ring that had a ruby, and it was surrounded by little diamonds, and I lost it in a boyfriend's car, and I broke up with him, and I couldn't find the ring. And then I was in downtown, in the town I grew up in, and I see his sister, and she's wearing my grandmother's ring. And I said, Jackie, that's my ring. And she says, no, it's not. I found it in his car. And I said, it's mine. It was my grandmother's, and take it off now. And she said, no. And she started walking away from me, and I tackled her right in the green. And I beat the shit out of her. I even cut her finger getting the ring off.
Wow.
But I got it back.
Did she ever fuck with you again, or was that was it?
No, never. She'd
Was that-
see me and walk the other way.
Was that the only fist fight you ever got into as a kid?
Oh no, I fought with my sister a couple
Oh, of
times.
course.
You know.
And you guys still fight to this day in some ways.
Oh yes.
The beauty
Not
of family.
physically.
Yeah, I know.
Not physically.
So,
But one time, Uncle Jeff was so mad at her that he put his fist up, and I said, "Don't you dare!" And he goes, "What?" And he turned around and looked at me, and I said, "You'll be sorry." And he was way taller than me, and I'm 5'8",
mhm.
and he backed off. He
But
was
you're
afraid
also-
of what I'd do.
But you were also the older sister, weren't you?
Yeah,
Right. So there's also, even though size.
but we were grown up,
Oh, true.
you know.
But you can be fiery. I mean, people know you can be fiery.
Yeah.
You know.
Grandpa used to call me Herc,
Oh, really?
short for Hercules.
Of course. Yeah, you were never, when you disciplined me as a kid, very rarely was there any hitting involved, but your move was you would just grab a piece of hair and do a quick yank like that and like snap vertebrae in my neck. It was just such a quick little thing, but it got your attention, and like it hurt less than being hit, but it was definitely more jarring, and it made more of
Yeah.
a point. So good job on that one.
All three of you kids, I almost never spanked
Mm-hmm.
unless you ran away from me in a parking lot
Mm-hmm.
or you did something to hurt someone else.
Right.
So then I'd hurt you.
Yeah, you
But-
you were never unnecessarily violent.
No.
So that
And,
was,
you know,
appreciate it.
a few taps on your diaper didn't do much.
Of course.
But you'd cry, your feelings were hurt.
Let's get into some listener questions, because there's a
Okay.
bunch of good ones here, and some of them, like I said, our listeners are they can be pretty perverted. So you don't have to answer anything.
So am I sometimes.
There you go. They're gonna love this thing. You don't have to answer anything you don't want to answer.
Okay.
But we'll start simple. This is from Diana. What are you proudest of Dan for doing?
For taking off at a young age, moving across the country and following his dreams.
I will never forget the moment in the driveway when I was pulling away. Do you remember?
I remember you packing up,
Oh yeah.
and you started like crazy, and then you slowed down until you were almost not even moving.
Yep.
And we both fell apart in the driveway.
So me and my best friend Aaron and I moved to LA in September of 1999. And so I'm packing up, and we packed up my house first before I was going to drive the U-Haul truck to Aaron's to pack up his stuff. And I'm standing in the driveway with my mom. I'm going to cry now saying it, but
I am too.
I remember you said to me, "I love you more than you'll ever know."
Yeah. And
I'll
I
never
still
forget
do.
it. Thank
I
you. I
still
love you
do.
too. But it was hard to do. It was very unlike me to move. Like I'm usually, even to this day, I'm someone that I'm very surprised that I moved, because to this day I'm kind of still someone that I'm usually very content with whatever I'm doing, and
Yeah.
I don't take tons of huge chances, and I don't know why I left. It's very it goes against my personality to have left, but I am happy that I did. I have,
Yeah.
there's been regrets along the way of not being there for you guys when I would have liked to have been, but I had
Yeah.
to do it, I think.
Well, it was a sad household
Yeah,
too.
at times. I want to get into
Yeah.
that too. That's
Okay.
part of what I want to talk about. Another one from Diana. Has there been a choice Dan made where you thought that it was the worst decision he made, but it actually turned out to be great? And what was it, if any? Like any
Say it
time,
again. Say it
like
again.
was there ever a time where I made a decision where you're like, that's a really, really bad idea, but it turned out to work out for me?
Yeah, moving to California.
Oh, yeah, because you didn't want me to go, but you
No,
also
I
wanted
didn't.
me to go.
No, I
Right.
didn't.
I don't know what I would have done if I'd stayed. I would
I know.
I would have worked at the gas station. Or I don't know. I have
Yeah.
no idea what I would have done. Okay, what
Oh,
else?
one of the things that you did that really disappointed me,
Mhm.
I bought that brand new Bonneville out of the showroom, and he took it one night with his friend Aaron, and he came home the next morning. I go out and I come back in and I said, Dan, what did you do last night? He said, we went to Aaron's. I said, really? Because there's chunks of sod under my car. You were off-roading in my brand new car. And then you took your skateboard from the roof and went down the windshield and across the hood and cracked all the paint. Do you remember that?
I didn't just go off-roading. We went like rock crawling with that car. Like I drove it down the side of not a mountain, but like the side of a rock quarry.
Yeah.
I really thought it'd be easy, but I was like, it was smashing off the rocks. You know,
I could tell.
No, I know. And I did feel bad. And eventually when that car died, I did pool a little bit of my money and bought you a new car. I bought the Escort.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I mean, it wasn't a great car. It's not the same thing, but I did try to replace it as best I could.
Yeah.
But I definitely did fuck up your Bonneville, so I'm sorry.
And you don't worry about it. It's all forgiven. And then you had that Bronco. And I used to be terrified when you'd show me the pictures of you, like up to the door in mud.
Yeah.
I was terrified you'd get killed.
But that's all slow stuff. You know, I didn't go crazy in that thing. And also, it's kind of hard to die in an old Bronco because they were made, you know, they're such big steel, better me doing that.
I just had another memory about the Bronco.
What?
It was so high, and I had to take Max to preschool a couple of times.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd have to lift him up and throw him in the truck and then go around and get in.
So my second Bronco was the one that was much bigger than the first one.
Oh,
remember?
Okay. Yeah.
And that was the one you're talking about having to throw Max into.
Honest to God, it was up over my head.
That's really, really funny.
And of course, all the rich people in town, the kids went there. They're all laughing at me.
But you're in the safest vehicle in town.
I know.
Bet. Yeah.
I love driving that thing.
Oh, I miss it. I miss it so much.
Yeah.
But
not as much as your Mustang.
No, I miss the Broncos more.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
Definitely. The Mustang was more fun, but the Bronco was more my personality.
Yeah.
Another question here. This is a good one. This one I'm nervous about, but interested if you have an answer. Do you know anything about Dan that he doesn't know that you know? Something he thought he had kept a secret from you, but that he didn't hide as well as he thought he did?
I do, but I don't want to say it.
Oh, okay.
I'll talk to you about it privately.
Okay.
All right.
Great. I'm terrified.
No, don't be.
Okay.
It's just something stupid.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't care at all. You kind of left a good cliffhanger there. Do you remember the time? There was one time when I was dating Susan in high school that I did the classic thing of walking out of my room, like covering my neck or wearing like a turtleneck or something.
Hiding your hickey.
Yes. And you came over and like you pulled my collar down immediately and you're like, do you really think I'm that stupid? I'm like, you never wear the shirt. You don't wear your collar like this. Like you didn't even see it. You just pulled it down and you said, I know what you're doing. You remember that?
Mother's instinct.
Of course.
I tried the same thing in high school too.
Everyone does. And we all think we're so smart as kids.
But when I was in high school, everyone wore turtlenecks.
Okay.
So it was easier to hide them.
But you also know that I would never wear one because I've always had a horrible gag reflex when anything touches my neck.
Me too, with turtlenecks that were tight. I
can't do it.
Stretch them.
I'll gag immediately.
Yeah.
There was another time. I don't know. I still don't know why I did this, but my friend Mike gave me like a pot leaf necklace, and then I had a big white T-shirt with a huge green pot leaf on it, and I would wear them both at the same time.
That's not you.
I've still never smoked weed in my life, but you would ask me if I was doing drugs, and I would say no, but I don't know why I would expect you to believe me when I'm wearing a pot leaf necklace and a pot leaf T-shirt.
Because I didn't think you'd lie to me.
Well, right, but you didn't believe me, and nor should you, because I'm promoting a product like that. Like I remember you asking me, I'm like, I don't do drugs. And you're like, but why are you wearing the necklace and the t-shirt to school?
Yeah.
You remember that at all?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I still like now I eat edibles now a little bit, but I still have never smoked a cigarette or smoked weed or anything.
I had a square of chocolate edible about this big,
Uh-huh.
and I was fucked up for hours.
As
Hours.
an adult or when you were a kid?
A month ago.
Okay. Yeah, they're no joke.
Because I couldn't sleep, and someone told me to try this chocolate bar.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God I only ate one of the little squares, or I'd be dead.
Perfect.
I've never liked being high.
Oh,
Never.
really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I mean, it's not for everybody, I feel like.
Even medication, if I start feeling high, I cut it in half or stop it.
Mm-hmm.
So
what this is from Andy. Oh, the last one was from Catherine. This is from Andy. What are your strongest good and bad memories of Dan growing up? Was the pain of birth worth it?
yes.
Okay.
And he was a very difficult one.
Oh yeah.
He had to be a suction cup delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And your father, he wasn't there when your brother was born. He was in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
So you were the first kid he saw being born, and they put this big suction cup on your head. And then the doctor was pulling, and he was like down on his knees. And afterwards, your father said it was like watching a cow with the pulling through the bars, you know.
Brutal.
That was brutal.
Uh-huh.
And then you had this big purple spot on your head that stuck up and was throbbing.
Uh-huh.
So your father looked at the doctor and he says, "Oh my God, you sucked his fucking brains out."
To a degree, he's right. To a small degree, he's right. I was also born with long fingernails.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was scratching my face?
Yes, we had to keep mittens on you and keep cutting your nails.
So if you see baby pictures of me when I was in the hospital, I have a big red nose because they
wrote your name as Rudolph.
Because I was a December baby.
Yeah.
I was the first December baby born in my hometown.
Yes,
right?
and you were in the paper.
Of 1979.
Yeah.
And so they had put these mittens on me, and I kept rubbing my nose because I was trying to scratch my face, and so I rubbed my nose red.
Well, also they used to put babies on their stomachs, and if you cried, you'd be going like this against the sheet. So you had this big red nose, and instead of Daniel, they wrote Rudolph.
That's great.
And you came home in a Christmas stocking.
That's true. I saw that picture somewhere.
Yeah.
So what are your strongest good and bad memories of me growing up?
Oh. The worst is when you were 9 months old, you had a terrible medical problem.
We can talk about that. I've kind of alluded to it before, but you can tell the whole thing if you want.
Okay. Dan was 9 months old, and it was Labor Day weekend, and he just started screaming and screaming, and there was nothing I could do to calm him down. And I went to change his diaper, and it was full of blood. And when he screamed, his intestine would come out like a purple balloon.
Out of my butt.
Yes. It was terrifying. So I called your pediatrician, but the telephone lines were hit by lightning that night. So I couldn't get through to the doctor. But Bob, this friend of ours, he lived down the hall from a doctor. So he called her, and she got hold of me. I don't know how. And she said, "I'll meet you at Emerson." I said, "Okay." So I got your father, and I said, "We got to get him to the hospital." And you had cloth diapers, and they were double diapers, and they were soaked through with blood by the time we got there. And it turns out you had intussusception. It's when your intestine turns inside out. So
is that very rare or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not very common.
Okay.
But finally, one of your pediatricians met me at the hospital, and she rode in the ambulance with me, holding you, as we rushed to Mass General. And I thought you were going to die before we got there.
Well, wasn't there discussion of getting me a helicopter to get me there quicker?
Yeah.
No?
We couldn't do it. But your father ran and got Grandma, who only lived down the street from the hospital. Mm-hmm. And we were going like 90 miles an hour. And Grandma was more terrified for you than she was going 90 miles an hour.
Sure.
But we got there and I held you for all kinds of x-rays. And then they tried a barium enema and it managed to push it back in. And you were in Mass General for a week. Day 4, I walked in and you were running towards me in a walker. And it was the happiest time of my life. Because before that, they had you like your arms and legs tied to the bed so you couldn't move around. And you had your plug.
Yeah, my pacifier. I used to call it my plug. Yeah.
And he used it upside down. So nut pacifiers have a round thing for your nose. Dan's was upside down. But I had put 5 of them in his crib in the hospital so that he could have one, all the time. And his roommate was a little girl his same age that was dying of leukemia. And her mother was in another hospital dying of cancer.
Oh my God,
So,
really?
Yes.
I never knew
So,
either. I didn't know either of those things.
Yeah. Grandma and I were there every single day. And we'd take turns holding you and the other little girl. So if I had you, Grandma had the girl and vice versa. And I asked her father if it was all right. He said, oh, thank you, thank you. And I don't know whatever happened to her, but it was so sad.
So
The two of you were so sick.
You don't know what happened with her or her mother?
No.
Oh my God.
I think her mother was not expected to survive,
Oh,
but there was hope for the girl.
it's crazy how much shit we all go through and we think it's so bad, but really we're all pretty fortunate. If we're here, we're fortunate.
Oh, I know. But I felt so bad with that baby just laying in the crib all day. And I asked the nurse if I could hold her. And she said, well, I'll have to ask her father. And the father was very grateful.
Well, you've always been incredibly loving of all people, but especially you've always shown extra love towards babies and little kids. Always.
It's just like that too.
Yeah, it's true.
And so is your niece.
Oh yeah. Is she really?
Yeah. And she has a new baby brother that I think was born on your birthday.
I think he was too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and do you have any strongest good memories when I was a kid?
Oh, everything.
Oh, I lost your volume there.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. There you are.
Oh, okay. We had a lot of fun when you were little. Going to the beach and playgrounds, camping. Do you remember the camping trip?
Yeah, of course.
We borrowed a tent from his Uncle David, and it was supposed to go up on the sides and then like that, but we couldn't figure it out, so it looked like a teepee.
Oh, it was fucked. It was like a yeah. It was like this wide at the top, and there was 4 of us in there.
Yeah.
Like only one person could sit up at a time, I feel like.
I know. It was pitched like a teepee.
Yeah.
And then it rained, but you and Rachel had squirt guns.
Yeah.
And you'd run around in the woods hunting squirrels. Do you remember that?
Of course.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, and we found these dumb walking sticks that we called walking sticks, but they were just sticks that we found, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I do remember that.
Tramping off through the woods.
I also remember when I used to play with my G.I. Joes or figures, I'd always play with them. I would sit behind you on the couch while you were watching TV or eating, and I would put them in your hair and play in your hair.
My hair was down to my waist then.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'd tie their necks in my hair or drive trucks down my back.
Of course. I imagine it was kind of soothing for you too. I imagine it felt good.
Oh, I loved it.
Of course.
Loved it.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going with some questions here. Another couple from Andy. What one piece of life advice would you give Dan and the listeners?
To be kind to everyone around you and loving to the people you love.
I like that. Yeah, we're definitely living in a time where people are losing sight of that more and more.
Yes.
The last few years and just with the last year especially has been tough on everybody, and we're all kind of closing up a little bit. So I like that advice.
Yeah.
That's good.
There's so many people that are unkind, and that really bothers me.
I still remember the meanest thing anyone's ever said to me. When I was in high school, I forget which year it was, but I had an English teacher named Mr. McDermott. And you know very well that I was terrible in school. I just never did my homework. School was not for me. I had no interest.
But you were smart.
I guess, but I didn't care about school. I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want to know that kind of stuff. And I never did my homework, which I'm sorry for you.
I didn't either.
I know,
I didn't either.
But I'm sorry for you because you and Dad and you're the ones that had to hear about it from my teachers all the time. So I apologize.
I was on a first name basis with almost all the teachers in ACT.
And that was, I think my teachers were confused because they all liked me very much as a person, but hated me as a student because I just wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So Mr. McDermott once, so I don't think you knew him. He was a jerk.
Was he in high school?
High school.
Or junior? Yeah.
High school English teacher. And there was another day where I didn't give my homework. I didn't have it. And in front of the whole class, he stopped talking and looked at me and said, "You know what, Dan? As soon as you're able, you should drop out of school. You have nothing to contribute to society. You're never going to amount to anything. You shouldn't even be here."
Oh my God, you should write him a letter and tell him all the...
I'm sure he's dead by now. I'm sure he killed himself because he must have been miserable.
Yeah.
Well,
I went to a shrink one time that killed himself.
Yeah, you did. Which I think I've seen that in a movie somewhere too, where what does that say about you when you're...
Well, Grandma always said she thought psychiatrists went into that business to try to find out what was wrong with them.
It might be something to it.
Yeah.
How long did you see that person for before they died?
About a year.
Okay.
Every 2 weeks or something.
Right.
It's after your father and I got divorced, and I was so upset.
Was it helpful for you? Was therapy helpful?
Kind of.
Okay.
But Grandma made your father and I go to see Franciscan priests or whatever, some kind of priest in Framingham for marriage counseling.
What's Franciscan mean?
I don't know. It's, some kind of, it was Catholic.
Is Franciscan, is that like a break off of the Catholic Church or something, or what is that?
It's part of it.
Oh, I never heard that before.
Well, I think that's what it was called.
Okay.
But anyway, the first time we went, he said to me, "Do you ever look at him and say, 'fuck you'?" Or I said, "No." He says, "Well, tell him that right now." And I had to say, "Fuck you" to your father in front of the priest. And then he said the same thing to your father, and your father said, "Fuck you" to me. But it was funny,
Well, sometimes it's good. It's good to, as I'm learning, and as everyone knows who's in a long relationship, it's not great every single day. And you got to be able to tell the other person that you're not happy or you're aggravated or whatever. But just communication seems to be key.
Yep.
Right. Well, speaking of relationships, now we're getting into the good stuff. Someone wants to know, hey, Dan's mom, what is the best sex you've ever had? I'm going to ask whatever questions are on here. You don't have to answer, but if you want to, you can.
That's fine. When I broke up with his stepfather, I started dating his best friend.
Okay.
With Mark's permission. And Billy was awesome. That's all I can say.
Oh God, I'm sweating. Good for you. Good for you.
Did I say too much?
No, not at all. You can listen. One thing about this show and the last shows we've done with Dark Matter, you can never say too much.
Okay.
There's more I want to get into coming up, but like, I always struggle with I don't really have a filter of either I'm going to be completely open or I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
So I'm very, very honest on the show and open about everything. You've listened before and you called me the next day and said, "I don't think I can listen anymore." I don't know what story I was telling, but there was something where you're like, you'd heard too much and didn't want to hear anymore.
Yeah.
So I can
but I was honest with you.
We're adults. I can handle it. Well, good for you. I'm happy you found something else afterwards.
So I said, "Okay, that sounds good to me." Great. And he was the best.
Amazing. Yeah. Did he die?
Yes.
He did, right? Okay.
Yeah. He had cancer.
Oh man, it gets everybody. It seems like you just finished a bout of cancer yourself.
Yes, lung cancer.
Yep.
And I had breast cancer and
Mhm.
skin cancer. And
You're not ready to go yet.
I'm still kicking.
Yep. Good. Well, I'm happy you're here. That's another reason why I kind of wanted to do this with you is none of us are here for forever, you know, and you could be gone any day. I don't know what could happen tomorrow, but I'm grateful to have this recorded forever. So it's really fun for me to be able to ask these questions and kind of get some insight.
And now I have an aneurysm with a blood clot in it next to my kidney.
Great.
So, I mean, everyone's laughing. I was born in Wichita, Kansas, weighing 4 pounds, and my health has gone downhill ever since.
Oh my God.
Because it was August 31st, and it was so hot out there, Grandma could only eat watermelon and lettuce.
Oh, so you didn't get any nutrients.
Right.
Wow. Did you have health problems as a kid, or just they started as in adulthood?
Oh yeah, I had my tonsils out in 1st grade, and then I had a weird mole on my back that they had to remove. I had my tonsils out. I had my appendix out. Your aunt thinks that I just like doctors. And I said, you know, instead of making fun of me, you should be down on your knees thanking me for getting everything so you don't have anything.
Taking the brunt of it. You're basically the Jesus Christ of the family. You know, you're taking everyone's pain for them.
And I'm treated like the devil.
There you go.
The black sheep.
Uncle Creepy is a good friend of ours, and he asks probably my least favorite question of the night. On the night that Dan was conceived, how many times did you orgasm, Mom?
I believe 3.
Jesus Christ.
What? Too little?
Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Oh my God. Oh.
I'm sorry. I told you your father was an addict.
Oh my God. I did not expect that. I actually thought you were going to say none. I don't know why I thought it was going to be multiples. Oh my God, that's so funny.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. That's fucking funny. And people are going to love that answer. That is great. What's your all-time best in a night?
5.
I don't know why I asked. Oh my God. Okay.
I think. Okay. I kind of lost track.
Hey, there's still time, Mom. There's still time. Sam asks, what's the most embarrassing thing you ever caught Dan doing? I don't know if there ever was one.
No.
There's things that I was caught doing a lot that embarrassed me, but it's nothing crazy. So in my room, I started playing guitar and bass when I was 12 years old. And with yourself. Right.
That's one thing I caught you at after the fact. You told me it was boogers on the wall.
Oh, no, it was.
Wasn't.
No, Mom, it was. I used to hawk loogies on a poster. I swear to God, I never put that on a wall, ever.
I thought you did.
No. Promise you. I mean, it went everywhere else, but it did not go on the wall.
Okay.
Yeah, it did not go on the wall. But I used to play music. I used to play bass or guitar, and I would like stand in front of a mirror with my music on and pretending I was in these bands over and over again.
Yeah.
And for some reason, no one in our house seemed to knock when they went into a bedroom. You were better than Mark was, but you guys would come in all the time and see me pretending to be whatever band person. And that always embarrassed me because I
thought you were awesome.
I appreciate that, but I was still just like, I was embarrassed in the time because I was like in the zone with my eyes closed and I had a microphone. I was pretending. Mark would sit there and watch for like 20 seconds and wait for me to see him. And then he'd just be laughing and doing that kind of stuff. But
he was a mean bastard.
Yeah. Oh, I've told the story before too, I think, where there was a time when you were out late, either you were working late or something. And I asked him where you were. And he told me that you were killed by raccoons. And
what?
Yeah, and he let me think that for like an hour or two.
Oh my God.
Because we used to have a lot of raccoons on our porch. and they you were scared of them, and I
Rabid
was scared of
ones.
them. Yeah, I was chased once, but yeah, he told me that you were killed by raccoons. He also told me that maggots come from old French fries, because we used to have McDonald's all the time, and he said that when you let French fries sit for like a day or two, they become maggots. So I thought that when I was eating French fries, for a while I was like, oh, I'm eating what eventually becomes maggots.
He was an idiot. He still is.
He still is an idiot, but I love him in some ways, because I mean, he was for a long time more of a father figure than Dad was. Like, Dad was not super close to me until I was in my late teens.
Yeah.
But you know, Mark, he did teach me a lot, and he did.
He was cruel to you, though.
Yeah, at times, but we don't need to get into all that kind of stuff. But there were definitely times when he was. I mean, I was the stepkid. I mean, there was like almost like a cliche of stepson, stepdad, where we butted heads, and he definitely cared more for his own kids than he did of me, and I kind of understand it. I mean, part of me that makes sense to me.
I loved your older brother so much when he was little.
But you're a different person. I mean, you're a different person than Mark is. You know, you're you're more of a welcoming, accepting person, and he's not as much that.
He's not at all.
No. All right, here's a few more here. We'll get through these. Dan, you said you hung a Dirty Dancing poster. Oh, I'm sorry. She's saying this to you. Dan said you hung a Dirty Dancing poster on his door. But tell us the truth. It was really Dan's poster, right?
No, it was mine. I had a major crush on Patrick Swayze.
Yes, you did.
We even went to Lake Lure.
Yep.
And danced across the bridge.
Yeah, we did a road trip. We went to North Carolina to see my grandfather, my stepdad's dad, and then on to Alabama. But North Carolina is where the set of Dirty Dancing was, right?
Yes.
And we had to go there.
It was 2 hours out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Mark I'd never forgive him if he didn't take me there.
It was honestly really fun, because that's a movie that we watched as a family quite a bit.
Yeah.
But,
and you and Rachel were on the stage and would jump off, and Mark would catch you.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
That actually was a fun trip. But you bought a poster there in the gift shop, and you wanted to hang it in your bedroom. And understandably, Mark said, we're not hanging a Dirty Dancing poster in our bedroom. So you put it on my bedroom door on the outside, and you put like 300 layers of tape on it so I couldn't get it off my door. And it was there until the day I moved.
I know. I think it was there until the day I moved.
I'm sure it was. But that was so funny. Every time like friends would come over, they'd be like, you a big Dirty Dancing fan? I'm like, no, it's my mom's poster. I don't want to talk about it. And
but
then
I could see it from the living room.
You could. And every single time you would leave the living room to go to the bathroom or go to bed, you saw Patrick.
Yes.
But then you enter my room, and it's all horror movie and rock and roll pictures and posters.
Life-size cardboard Freddy Krueger.
Yep. I love those movies.
I know.
Loved it.
I know.
Okay, what else we got here?
I loved your costume.
Which one?
You terrified DJ and Liz.
Oh, yeah, my cousins.
He had a Freddy Krueger outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Whole costume.
You got me, the glove and the mask and everything.
Yep. And a life-size poster that I used to have to put, cardboard cutout of Freddy that I had to put in the closet when they were there for the night.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan puts it all on and goes outside. And the two of them start screaming. They were like 4 and 6.
They were in my sister's room, in Rachel's room in the room next to me.
I thought they were in your room.
No. They were in Rachel's room, I think. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Well, I kept yelling at him, go to sleep. Freddy's here. Freddy's here. I said, Freddy is not here. Now knock it off and go to sleep. And they just kept crying and screaming. And I went into the room, and there's Dan with his claws going like this on the screen window.
Right.
I wanted to kill you. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and they should have been asleep by 9.
It was so fun. It was so fun.
You were terrified of Bert and Ernie. I had a Bert and Ernie poster in your room when you were in a crib.
Mm-hmm.
And one day you just looked at it and started screaming, and I couldn't figure out why.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Bert. Scared the hell out of you.
Well, he's the scarier one, easily, without question. And then later, I remember I hung that poster back up when I was older, and I hung it upside down. And do you remember, there was a short time when I hung all my posters upside down. Do you remember that at all?
No, I don't.
There was like a year or two where I hung everything in my room, I hung upside down. And I didn't know that I used to use my pacifier upside down. So I wonder if there's something about me wanting to do things backwards.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, maybe I'm autistic. I don't really know.
Or OCD.
Yep, something like
I'm
that.
OCD. If I turn around to the right, I have to turn around to the left.
Oh, I did the same thing for a long time. And I have a thing with, I still have a thing with even numbers.
Yeah.
It's gotten a lot easier, but if I burped, I would have to burp again. So there'd be 2s.
Yeah.
But I still, when I drink something, I'd have to take 2 sips that add up to 6. And when I chew, it's always in 6s, 12s, or 24s.
With
Still
me,
to
it's
this day.
5s.
Oh, I hate odd numbers. I hate them. Why 5? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. It's just
Yep.
my favorite number, and
Yep.
always has been.
Was 5 your favorite number as a kid?
Yes.
So it's weird that I was born on December 5th.
Yep.
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
your brother was the 25th,
Oh, that's right. Yep.
and your sister was February 3rd, and that adds up to 5.
Oh yeah, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. Kim asks, how does she feel about the way you speak about her drinking and being the dirtiest house on the block? I only ever hear love in your voice when you talk about her, but you're brutally honest, and as a mom, I'd be so ashamed. How does she feel about you being so open?
I'm embarrassed, and I apologize to you. And one of my shrinks that I talked to,
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about hoarding, and it was because I never had anything new, that was my own. When I married your father, we bought Cricket's furniture, which your father's first wife, which he had already bought once, and we had to use her furniture again. I always had hand-me-down clothes for my sister. I don't know. So when I saw something I liked, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's embarrassed the hell out of me all my life.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I've moved here, I can't stand to see anything out of place.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand to touch a counter or table and have it dirty. But it bothers the hell out of me. And
Yeah.
I got rid of 2.5 dumpsters when I moved out of
Mm-hmm. The old place.
the other house.
Yep.
2.5.
Wow.
And I even let go of my little black baby doll
Mm-hmm.
that I wanted for my 5th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it all this time. And Emily was helping me, your cousin. And she said, oh, you probably want this. I said, you know what? I think I'm done with her. That went in the trash.
It served its purpose.
And I feel really bad because I got rid of Alfred.
Oh.
You remember where I got Alfred?
No.
Lily's father?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dan called me and said, there's a full-size, life-size skeleton here. Would you like it? And I said, I'd love it. So
of course. I knew you would.
I had Alfred, I named him after Alfred Hitchcock.
Mm-hmm.
And I had him for years and years.
And by the way, her dad's name was Fred.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So it was a double meaning.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I used to work at a daycare center, and one of my favorite babies would come over, and she'd walk around the hallway and see the skeleton and screech. So I finally put a hat on it and put in a coat and
Made it friendly and nice.
oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the hoarding stuff, something that people don't understand is that it comes from also, it's an emotional thing. It's not just because
Right.
you like a mess. There's an emotional thing to it. It's
There
something
was
like
a hole in me that I was trying to fill.
right, from childhood and from all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I understand it. And part of me even has that. So
Yeah.
I have a tough time getting rid of, if anything has any kind of sentimental value, I'll keep it. And most things
That's me.
you can find sentimental value in almost anything.
Yeah, but
this is a receipt that I got when I had lunch with my little brother when he was 6 years old. This means everything to me, but it's just a piece of paper. Like the memory's still there.
I know.
Yep.
I know.
But I'm saying I can relate. I know how it feels.
I was going through boxes here and I just found the baby bracelet that said baby boy from him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't throw it out.
Well, that makes sense. There's some stuff. Listen, there's sentimentality is fine, but you just can't find sentiment in every single thing.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about the drinking. I grew up in a, all of us, the three of us, grew up in a very alcoholic household, and it wasn't even just you guys. It was like, and then it was also dad. It was all of the aunts and uncles, and most of the grandparents and cousins. I mean, it was a very prominent problem, and it led to, it was a tough childhood. Yeah. But then looking back, I don't know if I would change it because I like who I am now. So in a weird way,
it made you strong.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But I very easily could have gone the other way.
Yeah.
I could have been a raging alcoholic or whatever. But like, were you aware of it in the time, or is it just you were so out of it you just didn't realize what was going on? Or
I tried. I went to rehab twice.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd come home from AA meetings, and Mark would be drinking beer in the driveway because I told him no alcohol in the house.
Yeah.
And I'm weak.
Right. Well, yeah, we all are in some ways.
Then I had to sleep next to someone breathing beer breath in my face, So it just wore at me. But I haven't had a drink in 13 years.
And what was the final thing? What got you to be able to stop?
I had a colostomy.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to have a beer with Aunt Mon. And I took like 5 sips. Then I went, oh, this just doesn't settle right. And the only other drink I've had is a glass of wine with Grandpa at his like 70th class reunion, which was a blast. Mm-hmm. And then I had a Kahlua sombrero at his funeral, and I didn't even finish it.
Yep.
I think you know that.
Yep. Did I don't know this. Were Grandma and Grandpa alcoholics when you were growing up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Grandpa more so.
Okay.
Grandma taught me how to make Manhattans because she was tired of making them for him.
Okay.
That's why at his funeral, everyone was drinking Manhattans.
Right. I know he loved his Manhattans.
Yeah.
So what age were you making him drinks?
Probably in high school.
Okay. I remember there were times, because the smoking is what I almost hated more. The drinking was tough, but the smoking was hard because I was asthmatic. So
I know, and I've blamed myself all your life, but I'm a cigarette addict.
Yeah, I know. More so than alcohol, I would say.
Yeah.
But I remember there were times when I was so angry because you knew how much I hated the smoking, and you would send me to the gas station to buy you cigarettes.
I know.
So I'd have to go there and be like, God damn it. But I would do it.
I was probably too drunk to walk there myself.
I'll tell you what, you definitely were. You definitely were. But you've apologized many times about it. But I will say, like, I don't blame you for anything. I understand it wasn't a choice that you were making. It's an addiction, and it had a hold. But
I was so drunk one time, I let Laurie and Rachel, I laid on the couch, and they each had half of my face to put makeup on. And then I got up a couple hours later and drove to the gas station.
Oh my God.
And I had like half of my face blue and the other half purple and like lips about this big.
They probably thought you were like the town transvestite or something at that moment. I
went to school with the guy that owned the station.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, "What the hell are you doing, Cindy?" I go, "What do you mean?"
It's like, have you looked in the mirror?
I was so embarrassed.
That's really funny.
The most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me?
What?
When we were in Florida, when you won the trip.
Yep.
And we were at the Wilderness Lodge, and you guys forced me to go down the water slide. And I'm terrified of water.
Oh, I don't remember this.
I get in, and I'm trying to not go down. So I start sliding down, and I pushed my arms against the walls, okay? And the water came up over my head, and I thought I was going to drown. And I lost my grip and splashed into the pool, and everyone was roaring laughing because the water was coming over my head. I was so embarrassed.
I think I forgot that you hated water.
I can't swim at a single stroke. Me and Grandpa sink like rocks.
You can't swim?
No, not at all.
I didn't know that.
Grandpa can't either. When he went to swimming lessons at Lake Whalum, they took him out in a rowboat and told him to jump out and swim to shore. He jumped out and yelled for help.
Sounds about right. I knew you didn't. I mean, I didn't know you couldn't swim.
No, I can't.
Oh,
I
wow.
love the ocean, though. I love surfing the waves.
What about your brothers and sisters? Can they all swim?
Oh, yeah.
Did they take lessons or they just figured it out?
We all took lessons. But when I was taking my swimming lessons at Walden Pond, we had to swim out and go around a buoy and go back. And I was doing just fine until the boy next to me panicked and grabbed me and pulled me under. And we both had to be rescued by the lifeguard.
Mm-hmm.
And I've hated water ever since.
Makes sense. Yep, that makes sense. Move on to some questions here. If you, God, this is another bad one. If you could have sex with one of Dan's friends, who would it be and why?
Oh my God, I can't do that.
You don't have, is there anyone in mind?
Dave Navarro or Steve Isaacs?
Okay, I'll take it. Oh my God, I cannot wait to tell them that. That's great. That's great. Thank you for that one, Matt. That's uncomfortable. We kind of covered this, but
that's safe because that'll never happen.
True. Well, you never know. Who knows? If there's a Make-A-Wish Foundation for older women, you never know, Mom. You never know.
I haven't had sex in over 10 years. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well,
since my colostomy.
I'll tell Dave and maybe he'll fly out and do you a favor. Diana asks, is there anything that you did in raising him that you regret? Probably what we just covered. Is there anything else?
Yeah, the drinking and smoking.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough. Then Laura says she just wants to give, I just want to give your mom a happy Mother's Day shout out. Thank you, Laura, very much.
Thank you, Laura.
Catherine asks, is there anything about yourself that Dan doesn't know that you would be willing to share with him now?
About me?
Anything. I mean, it can be funny. It can be sad. I mean, anything that you want.
Okay. I get the saddest thing that ever happened to me is losing Jeremy.
Right. Well, I know that. I know that one.
Okay. And also, after you got sick and we're in Mass General, I found out I was pregnant a couple weeks later, and your father forced me to have an abortion because he was afraid of the X-rays, and I still am not over that.
I did not know that. So
yeah,
I was.
He was afraid that the baby would be damaged from the X-rays because it was so early.
Okay.
And he didn't want to raise a deformed kid.
Okay. Understandable. So, okay. Well, I didn't know that. Okay, that's a good one.
But I was on the table telling the doctor, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
Me too.
Chad asks, knowing what you know now of modern day families and the outlooks for the younger generations, would you consider yourself and your offspring lucky to have grown up when you and they did? Or do you think you'd try your luck at motherhood nowadays?
No, I much better off before.
In what ways? How come?
Well, I had you when I was 26. I had your sister when I was 29, and I had your brother when I was 40. It's way too old to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess I lost track of the question.
So I guess, like, would you have rather raised a kid nowadays, I think in like modern times, or back in the 80s, 90s?
80s and 90s.
How come?
The world's too screwed up right now, you know, with terrorists. And, you know, when I grew up and you kids were little, you could play anywhere in the neighborhood and I knew you were safe.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's totally different.
Well, also kids don't go outside anymore. Kids are inside on computers and you know, when summers rolled around in Massachusetts, probably everywhere in the country, everywhere in the world, when summer comes, you wake up and you're outside until you go to bed.
Right.
And
You
that
have
just doesn't-
breakfast.
Yep.
And sometimes you'd come home for lunch, but usually I tell you when the street lights come on, you get home.
Yeah, or call you and tell you where I was. But I would get
Yep.
on my bike and go to Aaron's house, and you wouldn't see me. You wouldn't see me in the summer,
I know.
and you
For
didn't
at
worry
least
about
10
it.
hours a
Yep.
day.
There was a time. Do you remember the time that? So my cousin Eric is a couple years older than me. A year?
17 months.
17 months, and so as far as like family goes, he was kind of my closest friend in the family. We were cousins, but when him and I would always hang out and
Yeah.
do sleepovers and stuff. And he got a moped one time,
Oh
and
my God, I remember this.
we got the moped running, and our plan was to drive the moped about 10 minutes away to go visit his sister she worked at Dunkin' Donuts or something, and we were trying to go visit her.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we passed a sign for the Pheasant Lane Mall, which was a 40-minute car ride from where I lived
In a different state.
in New Hampshire. So we see the Pheasant Lane Mall. We have no idea how we got there. We have no idea how to get home. And I think we called you and his mom, your sister Monica, from a payphone and said, we're at the Pheasant Lane Mall. We don't know how. We tried to go visit, our cousin Lisa at her work. We got lost and we're in New Hampshire. How do we get home? And one of you explained the way to get back.
Didn't you follow the telephone poles
I don't remember, but
or railroad tracks or something?
so he was driving the moped and I was on the back, and every 4 minutes the muffler would fall off. And it was my job to take my shirt off and pick up this burning hot muffler and stick it back on. And both of our legs were getting burned. And when we finally got back to his house, you were there, and you guys were so pissed. Pissed because we could have gotten killed. It was just, we were so
You were
far
only
from
like
home.
12 and 13, I think.
Yep.
Weren't you?
Something maybe might have been even younger than that.
Yeah.
But we got back, and both Eric and I, we like to talk back. And
Yeah.
Monica was a big fan of Soap in the Mouth. And I
Yeah.
remember that day we got back, we were both talking back, and she didn't have any bar soap. So
Dish soap.
each of you took turns shooting dish soap into our mouths. And I played it off like I liked it. And I took the bottle and started drinking it myself to show you that I was going to win.
Yeah. Then you were sick for 2 days.
Oh, I felt like shit. I absolutely felt like shit. Okay, that question we've answered. Okay, I'm gonna end it on this question because I think we've done an hour and a half so far, and it's been great.
Yeah.
I do want to thank you very much for doing this. It's been
It was
lovely.
fun. I was nervous, very nervous, but it was fun.
You did great. You did great. So this last one comes from Catherine, and she said, "If this was the last conversation you were ever going to have with Dan, what would you be sure to tell him?"
That I love him so much for making me a mother and for being the sweetest of my kids. And
Yeah.
Dan, you've never drank, or he used to drive his friends home from places
I still do.
because they were too drunk. And one time he didn't even have a license, but I knew the cop. And he told you to be careful,
Mm-hmm.
take your friends home, and don't drive again until you have a license.
Yep.
You're very caring and loving.
I'll get that from you. No question about it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know you have regrets on things, but you actually did a very good job.
Wait, I missed the first part.
I said, I know you have regrets and you feel bad for things, but you actually did
do.
you did a very good job.
Well, thank you.
And I
I
appreciate
love you so much.
I love you very much. Happy Mother's Day. And
Thank you.
Thank you to all the listeners for sending those questions, and fuck you to the ones that sent the questions that really make me uncomfortable. But at least they were funny for people to hear. And thank you, Mom, for being so open.
It was
and honest.
hard to answer those, but
I appreciate it. No, it makes for a good show when you're open and honest. So thank you very much for doing it.
thank you for asking me.
All right,
I
Mom,
love you, Norman.
I love you, Mother. And
Bye-bye.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
All right, there it is. That was my beautiful mother answering some tough questions, some funny questions. I talked to her afterwards, and she had a good time, and she appreciated it. It was good for me too. Like I said in the video, I'm happy to be able to have that for the rest of my life. It's cool. I urge you guys, if you have people in your life, parents, brothers, sisters, grandparents, and there's things you want to know and things you want to ask, do it. Because you never know when they're going to be gone. And you'd be surprised what you can learn about them and in some ways about yourself. And I definitely did. So thank you for contributing. What else we got? That's it. We'll be back next week with hopefully a fucking crazy interview that I'm excited about. I've been trying to put together for a month or two at this point. So it should come together. It was supposed to be today, but we'll see about next week. Darren should be back soon. Yeah, thank you guys very much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on iTunes, rate and review. I mean, it's the least you can do to support the show, and it is helpful. But regardless, for all of you that listen and support, I love you very much. Thanks for letting me do this, and we will see you more next week.
This is Lola, and I'm here to tell the world to stop being such pussies and listen to Rare Form Radio.